Hi, everybody. It's Mr. Moohead. Update on what's going on. This is a podcast. We're going to be talking Cleveland Browns after last night's 24-13 loss to the Atlanta Falcons. No live shows until the internal wiring gets worked on here, but I'm hopefully going to be able to do podcasts up until the time this issue gets resolved. The Browns yesterday, 24-13. I know what you're reading. You're reading about RG3. You're reading about Terrell Pryor, and you're reading about all kinds of the positives that came out of the game. You're not going to hear any of that shit from me because yesterday's game was an epic fail in my mind, an absolute embarrassment for the organization and an embarrassment for the defense. We can talk about the offensive side of the ball all we want to try to make ourselves feel good, but the fact of the matter is, we have a defense that didn't show up. We have the same defensive issues that we've looked at for the last 17 years with this organization. What good is having the trio of receivers that we're going to have if we can't get them out on the field? Here's what I saw in yesterday's game, and I'm going to focus first on that defense. First of all, predicated on the way they played yesterday, Justin Gilbert should be cut from the squad, and so should Pierre Desir. There is no way in God's creation that professional football players miss open field tackles and totally miss assignments. But these two guys were absolutely disastrous. Justin Gilbert, we've looked at week after week. He just doesn't have the mental capacity to play NFL football. Be done with him already. This isn't a matter of an experiment. This is a failed experiment. When you let people get by you and you whiff tackles, when you sit there and give a 5-yard cushion to anybody who runs a pattern and it looks like you don't know where you're supposed to be on the field, you don't belong out there. And Pierre Desir, I don't know how in the hell you have a team 3rd and goal at like the 15-yard line, and you allow a guy to run a completely, and a second or third string guy run a completely uninspired over the middle pass, and you do nothing to get in his way. It was a pitch and catch, and Desir just looked dead in his eyes, like he doesn't want to play football. Well, I would give him that opportunity to go over and work at Jack in the Box, because not on my football team. Here's another thing, folks. Shelton's lost 30 pounds, and it's done no bit of good. I'm watching 2 preseason games. We don't get to the postseason. 2 preseason games, and Danny Shelton is virtually invisible. And I'm sick of the talk about, oh, well, he's taking 2 men on. Well, no, he's supposed to be getting into the backfield, remember? Remember the goal for him this year, to get into the backfield, to disrupt things, to put pressure on the quarterback? Did you see him? I sure as fuck haven't seen him in the first 2 preseason games. He's getting pushed and danced around, and he is not worthy of the pick. Plain and simple, he's not any good. And I'm watching, and he doesn't look like he has a huge motor. It doesn't even look like he has the strength to push anybody backwards. And if he was taking on 2 guys, what does that say for the rest of your defensive line? Backup running backs making these people miss. It was pathetic to watch. We can't get into the backfield. We get pushed backwards, and there are gaping holes in the line that 2nd and 3rd string running backs can run through with ease. You never had a 2nd and 10 because a play was stuffed at the line. You're constantly 2nd and 3, and 2nd and 3 doesn't buy you anything. The Cleveland Browns offense is immaterial, folks. It's immaterial because they won't see the field often enough. And when they do, they'll be behind, and they'll have to abandon the running game. The same thing we've seen for 17 years. We don't have the pieces. Now, the people who played okay, all right, Nassib played okay. Fine. There was one play he was completely unblocked. He's a high motor guy. I don't think he's a particularly athletic guy, but I think at least he works very hard. And, he did some stuff for us out there. But, I'm looking at the linebackers and saying, what in the hell are they doing? Because they're not stepping up and stuffing holes. Those holes are supposed to be covered by linebackers if all of the defensive linemen are being sealed off. The linebackers were nowhere to be found. I did not see Demario Davis. I did not see Kruger. I did not see, but I saw enough of Barkevius Mingo again, and I don't want to keep going there. Another guy, failed experiment, ship him out. Not big enough, not strong enough to play in the NFL. Never going to get there. I don't care how fast he runs a 40-yard dash. He doesn't have the necessities, Al Campanis, to play the game. All right. But where the other linebackers were, God only knows. But they weren't filling up holes and stopping people in the backfield. That's for damn sure. And when you're 2nd and 3, what kind of pressure are you ever going to get on the quarterback, except it's going to make you ultimately vulnerable to screen passes, the one play that the Cleveland Browns haven't been able to run themselves in 17 years. All you have to do is suck the lineman in, toss the ball out to the running back, and you've got 15 yards. And we saw it a couple more times last night, because the Browns can't get close to a quarterback in a 2nd and 3 situation if they decide to throw, because the play action pass keeps them on their heels because the defensive front can't stop the run. I mean, it is real basic analysis. And if I'm Hugh Jackson, I would say I'd be pulling my hair out, but there's nothing, to pull out there. He knows what he's got, and he's got nothing. As far as I can see, he's got defensive backs. I mean, Tramon Williams, give me a break. I mean, these people aren't even close to the receivers they're covering. And this whole Horton defense, are we going to go through this fucking nightmare again? And it looks like we are. The fact that he wants to run a pressure defense, but we can't blitz because we can't put those guys out on an island because it's 7 points. You saw what happened. They give people a 5-yard cushion and they get juked out, and the guy runs 15 yards past them for additional yardage. They can't tackle. They can't press cover. How are you going to run blitz schemes when you have corners who can't press cover? And the scary part of this is that some of these players that we're seeing out on this field are going to be playing meaningful moments and minutes in these games and snaps because we're going to get injuries. There's no depth out there. So I look at this and I say, wow, I just don't see how the Cleveland Browns giving up 30 points a game are going to win. Or if they don't give up 30 points a game, they're going to give up 200 plus yards running. The clock will be run out. And one turnover in every game will mean the Browns have no chance of winning. It's really hopeless. When you look at what they're fielding out there, the talent isn't there. And we can sit there and say it's a scheme. We've had how many schemes? It just doesn't stop the run when you don't have dirty, nasty players. When you're getting pushed around and it's obvious that this group was getting pushed around, that's what you end up with. You end up with giving up all that yardage, and they were well on their way to giving up 200 yards rushing. Here's some other things that I noted. We don't have anybody who can return a kick. So that's another thing. Punt returns, with Travis Benjamin gone, it's going to be an adventure. We're going to settle once again for a guy who can catch the ball and not be able to run with the ball. So field position or big plays on special teams is going to be probably out of the question this year. All right. So I've slammed the defensive side of the ball because I'm sick of it. And honestly, it was an embarrassment to the city of Cleveland, an embarrassment to the fans, and it proves that the Browns can't win playing that kind of defense. Now, let's take a look at the offense while we have something at least not bleak to talk about. RG3 looked fine. RG3, when he has time to throw the football, is going to be fairly effective. And he was psyched up to play against Shanahan. There's no question about that. When he gets outside, he can run the football. And if he's smart enough to slide or throw the ball away, that's great. He wasn't working with any of his top line receivers, so it's kind of hard to say, except for Pryor. Pryor made a wonderful running catch and run for a touchdown. That's great. Teams are going to notice this on film, and they're going to play him deep, and they're double team him early on in the season. He's got to prove that he's able to run underneath patterns as well as fly patterns and hitch and goes. He's got tremendous speed, tremendous size, all for that, but is putting a lot on his plate because he's never played the position before. We also, you look at the other positions, and Barnage made a great catch of a ball that was thrown where only he could get to it. Glue finger Velcro catch for a touchdown. Rashard Higgins, you have to think of Rashard Higgins as a possession receiver, pre-assuming that Corey Coleman that Josh Gordon and that Pryor, or that two of those guys will be on the field. So a possession receiver is going to draw single coverage. The one thing that's good about the Browns offense right now is that if we have three healthy, good, strong, fast receivers, you can't double team all of them. And it's going to be pick your poison time. The thing is, you got to protect the quarterback and you've got to be able to run the football. We did see some sporadic runs by Isaiah Crowell where he got through little creases in the line, and that was good to see. But the right side of the line is still of tremendous concern. We weren't seeing Joe Thomas, so I'm not so worried about the left side of the line. But boy, the right side of the line is going to take some work. But the Browns have to be able to consistently run the football to open up those big wide receivers, something we haven't had in such a long time in Cleveland. And personally, I think what it all, and we're talking about Andrew Hawkins. I don't count on Andrew Hawkins. He's small and he gets hurt. Taylor Gabriel is small and he gets hurt. These guys are concussion factories. They make concussions every week and ship them out to the public. I don't know. I like Rashard Higgins. I want to see a guy who's a younger guy get a chance, let him perfect his patterns. He's got good hands, and put him on the field with some of these big play receivers and see if he can be a chain mover for this team. Because it's obvious to me the running game as it sits right now with the front line that we have is not going to be the ultimate chain mover. And it scares me whenever I see RG3 running out of the pocket and running for first downs. I just don't want to see him get smacked because he is fragile. We know that from his history. Kuhn did nothing to help himself by missing an extra point, and I think that Patrick Murray is going to be the kicker for this team, all 5'7" of him. One more thing I wanted to mention, and this is going to be a quick podcast because I think you're getting my drift on this, is that Cam Irving has been snapping the ball over the quarterback's head in scrimmages, in practice, and in games. And Cam Irving has never played center in the NFL. And as Jerry Glanville would say, standing for not for long when you snap the ball over the quarterback's head repeatedly. The thing that's dangerous about this is not that, Cam Irving is getting used to a new position, like is what you're going to read in the stupid press, but that long snappers in general, their careers end with the yips. And the scary part of a guy who's never played at this speed at the center position in the NFL, who is snapping the ball over the head of a quarterback in a shotgun formation, is that he's scared. He's nervous. The guy who's standing over him, he's afraid to go from his transition of his snap into blocking, and he's rushing the snap, and he's snapping it over the head of the quarterback, not doing things in distinct motion as far as, technically soundly. But yips are something that people don't overcome. See Chuck Knobloch at second base. See Steve Sachs at second base. When you have a baseball player who loses his confidence in being able to throw from his position to throw runners out at first base, we call that the yips. We see it in golf all the time. It's the great killer of senior golfers, guys who were competitive golfers who are no longer competitive. Their hands actually shake when they're putting because of nerves and uncertainty. The same thing we can say of long snappers. We had one in Cleveland a couple of years ago. Remember, he was a Pontbriand, Ryan Pontbriand. He was a great long snapper, and then all of a sudden, man, he started snapping them all over the county, and his career was never resuscitated. That guy was a Pro Bowl long snapper, believe it or not, and he ended up having the same problem that Cam Irving currently has. He could not accurately snap the ball. He was rolling them in, all kinds of things. And he never was able to reanimate his professional career because the nerves, the yips got to him. So if I were the Cleveland Browns, I would be looking at another center because Cam Irving is demonstrating at an early age that he has nerves and the yips and can't be counted on. And he will do it if he's doing it in a stupid half-speed preseason game against second stringers. When the speed of the game intensifies, it's only going to get worse. You better start seeing what else you have out there at the center position. You might want to be scouring wires for backups and see what you need to do, because in my estimation, Cam Irving might be a real liability for this football team. I don't mean to sound like Nancy negative here, but the fact is, after 17 years of seeing bad, I know bad when I see it, and this definitely was bad last night. And You can walk away saying, hey, we can score some points. Yeah, but you're not going to win football games because you can't win in the NFL and you can't win in the AFC North without stopping the run. And until that gets done, I would rather have a boring team that has a chance of winning 16-13 and holds the other team down and has a defense that stands up and is stout than have a team that can periodically score 27 but give up 34. This is not the way to win. And I don't care about exciting product to watch. We're looking at the future of an organization, and the foundation lies in the defense. That's what I have to say about last night's game. Everybody, I'm going to be resuming live broadcasts just as soon as I have the ability to do that. I have no idea when the signal goes down or when the signal is back up to full speed. We're trying to fix that Monday at 9 in the morning with some internal wiring electricians to come in to see if we can find any shorts in the line to find out if there's any solution to this issue. Thanks a lot for watching this podcast, and I'm going to keep you folks informed, and I'll keep doing these podcasts in brief spurts to keep the show alive until we get our issues fixed. Have a good weekend, and way to go, Tribe. That's the way to come back after a really bad loss, is to come back, and Robin Ventura is more than willing to give it to you. Just grab it, man. We're still 6 games up over the Tigers, and we have an opportunity. Danny Salazar aside, who was not ready to pitch, maybe get him into the minor leagues, give him a start down there. Let Clevenger pitch the next rotation. Let's keep holding on. And one thing I wanted to say before I get out of here, somebody nudge Tito Francona for me, please, because letting Roberto Perez get one attempt at a bunt on a pitch that turned out to be a pass ball. What's he thinking? Roberto Perez can't bunt. Roberto Perez can't hit. And you have Tyler Naquin on the bench, so it took the wild pitch / pass ball to get Perez out of the game once the man went to third, so that Naquin came out, first pitch, sac fly, game over. You know, use what you have on the bench, Tito. I'm sick of seeing Roberto Perez, and the fact is, you saw Perez having problems with Andrew Miller. You saw Perez call a horrible pitch in the game in which Cody Allen should never have thrown a breaking pitch up 0-2 in the count against Eaton. It should have been an up and away fastball at 95 miles an hour to see if the guy would bite at it and be over enthusiastic. Our starting pitching is diminished since Yan Gomes went away. We're not seeing any Jimenez. We're just seeing Roberto Perez over and over again with his 0.80 average, and he calls a lousy game. If I'm the Cleveland Indians, once again, I look at getting rid of Roberto Perez before he really injures this team. Let's see if we can scour the wires somewhere in the minor leagues, get somebody who can call a good game at least, because Perez neither hits nor calls a good game. Okay? We'll see you again real soon on the next installment of Moohead Radio. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.